The restaurant lights shimmered faintly against the wide glass windows, as if even the universe paused for a moment, hesitant to witness what was about to unfold. At a corner table sat a young woman, her hands nervously twisting the strap of an old purse. Her eyes darted between the crystal chandelier above and the silver cutlery before her. Everything around her felt too elegant, too polished, too far from the life she knew. Her voice trembled as she finally whispered the words that had been pressing against her chest. "I don't deserve this date." But what he said next would change her life forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and love that heals, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Whispers of Kindness, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Your support truly keeps these stories alive. Her name was Emily Carter, 27 years old, and already a survivor of more storms than most people face in a lifetime. She grew up in a small town called Bloomfield, raised by a single mother who fought every day to keep the lights on and food on the table. Emily's father had left before she could even remember his face. Her mother's heartbreak turned into bitterness, and too often that pain spilled onto Emily. "You're just like him," she'd say, "a mistake I can't forget." Those words etched deep scars inside a little girl who learned to disappear quietly into the corners of her own life. In high school, Emily was invisible. While others went to dances and laughed under string lights, she worked late shifts at the diner. She wore second-hand clothes and smiled through exhaustion. When boys noticed her, it wasn't for her heart, it was out of pity or curiosity. So, she grew up believing love wasn't for people like her. She dated men who confirmed that belief, each one chipping away a little more of her worth. And then came Daniel Hayes. Daniel was everything Emily wasn't, or so she thought. He came from stability, a man whose confidence felt effortless. At 31, he was an accomplished architect, turning dreams into skylines. But beneath that calm success was a man who had known betrayal to well, a broken engagement that left him wary of shallow love. He longed for something real, something honest. Their worlds collided one snowy night when Daniel stopped by the diner after a long day. He noticed her not because she demanded attention, but because she didn't. There was something in her quiet grace, something in her weary but sincere smile. And so he returned, night after night, for coffee that wasn't great but for company that made him feel human again. When he finally asked her out, Emily was sure it was a joke. She almost said no, but Daniel's eyes, steady, kind, unwavering, made her believe, for one fragile moment, that maybe she was worth asking. And that's how she found herself in that fancy restaurant, wearing a borrowed blue dress, surrounded by people who seemed to belong to another world. Her hands shook when the waiter poured her water. Her mind whispered all the cruel things she'd grown up hearing. "You don't belong here. You're not good enough." Finally, unable to bear it, she looked down and whispered, "I don't deserve this date." Daniel leaned forward, meeting her eyes with quiet strength. He smiled and said softly, "Emily, you're right. You don't deserve just this date. You deserve so much more. You deserve someone who sees you, who reminds you every single day that you are enough. And until you believe that, I'll believe it for you." Those words broke something open inside her. For the first time in her life, someone saw past the scars and into her soul. Dinner passed in a blur of laughter and warmth. Daniel didn't ask questions to fill silence. He asked to understand. And Emily, timid at first, began to share. For once, her story wasn't too small, too sad, or too much. After dinner, they walked outside under the falling snow. Daniel draped his coat over her shoulders, shivering but smiling. Emily whispered, "I've never felt good enough for anyone." Daniel stopped and said, "Then stop measuring yourself by people who couldn't see your worth. Their blindness doesn't define you. You are not what they said. You are the strength that survived it all." For the first time, Emily cried without shame, not because she was broken, but because she was beginning to heal. Their story didn't turn perfect overnight. There were still doubts, bad days, and old ghosts that whispered lies. But Daniel stayed, patient, gentle, constant. And slowly, Emily began to see herself through his eyes, someone brave, worthy, and full of light. Months later, when Daniel asked her to meet his family, she almost refused. But he simply held her hand and said, "Just be yourself. That's already more than enough." And he was right. They welcomed her for who she was, not what she lacked. Years later, Daniel knelt before her in the same restaurant where she once whispered those words of doubt. As he slid the ring onto her finger, Emily wept again, but this time, the tears were full of gratitude. Gratitude for love that didn't fix her, but healed her. Gratitude for the man who taught her that love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing, every day, to see the light in each other. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope tonight, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. And before you go, tell us in the comments, have you ever felt unworthy of love, only to discover you were more than enough all along? Because sometimes, all it takes is one person who believes in you before you believe in yourself. And that's how the girl who once whispered, "I don't deserve this date," finally learned she deserved the whole world.